In history, there are so many secrets that are far away from the human eye. These are dark, terrifying, and mysterious. That's why they were hidden and removed from everywhere. It's too difficult to find them in the modern world, but some secrets demand attention. For them, we made this video, in which we'll take you into the darkest secrets of the circus that were completely erased from history. So it's very important to watch this video because it has some of the most interesting parts. Let's get in. Number 15. The exploitation of freak shows. They called it entertainment, a parade of the abnormal. But behind those curtains stood people who never chose the spotlight. Born with deformities, medical conditions, or simply different from what society understood, they were labeled freaks. The circus took their pain and packaged it as wonder. The audience gasped, laughed, and pointed, unaware these performers were living prisoners. Contracts were fake, payments stolen, and dignity stripped. Some were kidnapped from hospitals, others sold by their families, promised fame, but given chains. When one grew too old or too sick to perform, they vanished quietly, replaced overnight. No one asked where they went. No one cared. For decades, the freak show thrived on cruelty disguised as curiosity, a reminder that the darkest monsters weren't the ones inside the cages, but the ones cheering outside them. Number 14. The execution of elephants. Early circuses treated elephants as the crown jewels of their shows, magnificent, intelligent, and powerful. Yet behind the grandeur lay a brutal truth. When these animals resisted abuse, the punishment was death. One of the most infamous cases was that of Topsy, an elephant executed in 1903. Her crime: defending herself against a violent trainer. The circus industry labeled her dangerous, so they staged her death as a public event, electrocuted before a cheering crowd, even filmed by Edison's company. It was spectacle, cruelty, and science twisted together. Many elephants met similar fates, beaten, starved, or killed when they no longer obeyed. Their graves? None. Their stories? Silenced under the applause of 1,000 clapping hands. The elephant show became a symbol, not of entertainment, but of how far humanity will go to control what it fears and doesn't understand. Number 13. The disappearing performers. Circus life was never as colorful as it looked from the bleachers. Performers traveled from town to town, nameless and forgotten by the world outside the tent. Many of them were immigrants, orphans, or drifters, people no one would miss if they vanished. And vanish they did. Traveling circuses moved fast, leaving no paper trails, no permanent records. When accidents happened, and they happened often, bodies were quietly buried behind the tents or along the rail lines they traveled. Managers used fake names in logs, sometimes listing the dead as dismissed or retired. No one questioned it. In an era without social security numbers or digital footprints, disappearing was easy. Some say entire performers' cemeteries still lie under old fairgrounds, forgotten under layers of soil and silence. The crowd saw magic, the ringmaster saw profit, and the ones who risked everything for applause were erased like ghosts that never existed. Number 12. The sinister origins of clowns. Clowns, they're supposed to make you laugh, right? Big smiles, silly shoes, harmless fun. But there's a reason so many people fear them, and it's not just a modern phobia. The first clowns weren't comic relief. They were twisted reflections of cruelty. Centuries ago, jesters mocked kings, fools mocked death, and street performers painted their faces white to hide bruises from beatings. When the circus adopted the clown, it inherited that pain. The exaggerated smile came from a morbid idea: paint the grin so no one sees the misery beneath it. Some old circus journals even mention clowns who refused to remove their makeup, saying, "It becomes the face after enough nights." Legends tell of one who painted his grin in blood after watching his lover die mid-performance. Maybe that's why the clown's smile feels wrong. Because deep down, it was never meant to be funny. It was meant to hide everything broken underneath. Number 11. The torture behind animal training. Under the tent lights, it looked magical. Lions leaping through fire, tigers bowing to human command, elephants dancing on cue. But behind that illusion lived a nightmare. Those trained animals weren't performing out of loyalty. They were surviving out of fear. Trainers used whips, bull hooks, starvation, and electric shocks. Every trick was carved into them through pain. A single mistake could mean another night of beatings. Some lions were kept in cages so small they couldn't stand. Tigers had their teeth filed down, elephants' ears bled from prods. And yet the crowd clapped, believing it was skill and discipline. They didn't see the broken bones, the infected wounds, or the empty eyes. When an animal snapped, attacking a trainer or escaping, it wasn't rage, it was rebellion. But the punishment was always the same: execution. The real trick of the circus wasn't taming beasts. It was convincing the audience that cruelty looked like entertainment. Get ready for number 10. The nightmare of child performers. The circus had a dark fascination with child performers. Tiny acrobats, miniature clowns, flexible contortionists, all designed to make crowds gasp. But behind those smiles were children robbed of a childhood. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, circuses often adopted orphans or bought children from poor families. They were trained harshly, beaten when they failed, and pushed into death-defying acts long before their bodies could handle them. Some lived their whole lives within circus caravans, never learning to read or write, never seeing the outside world. One documented case from the 1880s described a boy trapeze artist who fell to his death after working 14-hour practice days. The circus buried him behind the tents before sunrise and continued performing that night, as if nothing had happened. These children weren't performers, they were property. And for the audience, their laughter and applause became the sound that drowned out a generation's suffering. Number 9. The Hartford Circus Fire Conspiracy. July 6, 1944, Hartford, Connecticut. A packed big top full of families, laughter, and joy turned into one of the deadliest infernos in circus history. Within minutes, the tent became a burning cage. The fire spread so fast that people didn't run. They melted into the flames. The circus claimed it was an accident, caused by a careless cigarette. But survivors whispered a different story. The tent's canvas had been waterproofed with a deadly mix of gasoline and paraffin, basically a bomb waiting to ignite. Some say it wasn't an accident at all, but a cover-up for missing money, illegal labor, or something even darker. The official death toll said 168, but rumors spoke of more bodies, ones never reported, never claimed. That night, the circus burned, and so did its secrets. And when the ashes cooled, the managers disappeared, the ledgers vanished, and the truth went up in smoke, leaving only ghosts and questions behind. Number 8. The starvation of living skeletons. One of the strangest and most tragic acts in circus history was the living skeleton. These were men and women whose dangerously thin bodies were turned into a sideshow attraction. Posters promised the thinnest man alive, but few knew the price they paid for that title. Many were forced into starvation diets, some given only water, alcohol, or cigarettes to keep their frail shape. Managers often withheld pay, controlling food as punishment. There are records of performers fainting mid-show, their ribs visibly trembling with every breath. When one collapsed for good, they were quietly replaced, another poor soul hungry enough to take the job. Doctors tried to intervene in a few cases, but circus owners moved too quickly, vanishing into the next town before authorities could act. The living skeletons weren't performers of marvel. They were walking evidence of exploitation, victims of a world that found profit in watching people slowly waste away. Let's move to Number 7. The Curse of the Ringmaster. Every circus has its ringmaster, the voice, the charm, the authority under the tent. But in the older days, being the one who commanded the show came with a chilling pattern. Too many of them met the same fate, sudden, violent, and always mysterious. Some were found dead in their caravans, others crushed under collapsed rigging, one even vanished mid-performance, never seen again. People called it the Ringmaster's Curse. Crew members whispered that those who ruled with cruelty invited something dark upon themselves, a spirit of vengeance from the mistreated souls who lived and died under their control. One former acrobat wrote in her journal that the air around cruel ringmasters felt heavier, like the tent itself wanted revenge. Coincidence or karma, no one could say. But as the stories piled up, even the toughest men refused to wear the ringmaster's red coat. It wasn't superstition anymore. It was survival. Number 6. The Deadly Human Cannonball Experiments. The Human Cannonball Act is one of the circus's most daring performances, but its origin was soaked in tragedy. The very first attempts in the late 19th century weren't powered by air pressure like today. They used actual explosives. Engineers and showmen thought gunpowder could propel a human safely through the air if measured correctly. They were wrong. The first performer, a young woman named Zazel, survived her debut but suffered multiple injuries that haunted her for life. Many who followed weren't as lucky. Dozens of trial runs ended in fatal crashes, broken necks, and bodies splattered against safety nets that never held. Yet, the circus kept advertising the incredible flying man, replacing each dead one without a word to the press. When air compression technology finally replaced explosives, it saved lives, but the blood that built the act was quietly forgotten. Every cannon shot that wowed a crowd echoed the screams of those who tested it first. Number 5. The Truth Behind the Lion Tamers. Everyone loved the lion tamer, the fearless man in the red jacket, cracking his whip as beasts bowed before him. But the real show started long before the crowd arrived. Those lions weren't tamed through courage or connection. They were broken. Trainers used starvation, pain, and chemical sedation to keep them docile. Some lions had their claws torn out with pliers. Others had their teeth filed to stubs so they couldn't fight back. In dim cages behind the tent, you could hear their low growls turn into tired, defeated groans. The famous look of dominance that tamers bragged about? It was fear, raw and permanent. There are even reports of tamers injecting lions with tranquilizers hours before shows to make them seem obedient. The audience thought they were seeing bravery, but what they really watched was the aftermath of torture. The lions didn't bow because they respected the man with the whip. They bowed because they had no strength left to stand. And now it's time for number 4, the Circus of the Dead. Traveling circuses were breeding grounds for disease, constant movement, shared caravans, poor sanitation. It was only a matter of time before sickness spread. When outbreaks hit, the show didn't stop. It simply abandoned the sick. Workers stricken with tuberculosis, influenza, or cholera were left behind in rural fields, sometimes with a tent and a few supplies, to die in isolation. In some cases, entire sideshow teams vanished between towns, replaced without explanation. Local farmers would later find graves marked only by initials or a wooden stake. One particularly grim site near Ohio revealed multiple skeletons buried under a former fairground, believed to be circus workers left during a 1890 epidemic. The circus couldn't afford bad publicity, so they erased every trace. No names, no burials, no mourning. By morning, the wagons rolled on, music playing, laughter echoing. Behind them lay silence. The kind that only follows after death has packed up its tent and moved to the next town. Number 3, the secret backstage experiments. Some circuses weren't just about performance. They were about experimentation, not the harmless kind either. Deep behind the tents, far from the cheering crowd, strange things happened under dim lanterns. Stories tell of trainers and self-proclaimed scientists experimenting on animals, trying to create new attractions. Crossbreeding species, stitching limbs, injecting chemicals, all in the name of curiosity and profit. Some of these so-called creations were paraded as mythical beasts, dog-faced boys, snake girls, or two-headed wonders. But many never survived the torment. There are accounts of hidden wagons that reeked of decay, locked tight so no one would see what was inside. The performers whispered about cries at night, half human, half animal, that silenced even the bravest clowns. The audience never knew. They cheered for the mystery, the oddities, the impossible. But behind that applause lay an unholy laboratory where entertainment blurred into horror, and the circus became a carnival of sins. Number 2. The vanishing circus towns. In the golden age of the circus, entire traveling communities followed the shows. Performers, laborers, cooks, families, even animals. These weren't just performers, they were entire towns on wheels. But when a circus went bankrupt or tragedy struck, those communities didn't just scatter, some disappeared completely. There are records from the early 1900s of entire caravans found abandoned, wagons empty, fires still smoldering, and not a single person left behind. Locals who stumbled upon them described eerie silence. Food on plates, costumes hanging, music sheets fluttering in the wind. Some believed they joined rival circuses. Others whispered about suicide pacts or disease outbreaks hidden from authorities. Whatever the cause, the trail always ended the same: vanished footprints and unanswered questions. To this day, explorers and historians occasionally find remnants of these lost circus towns deep in forests or buried under farmland. But the people who once lived and laughed there, gone, like the final act that ended without applause. Number 1. The erased archives of the circus. When the golden age of the circus finally faded, something more unsettling than its silence followed. Its entire history began to vanish. Archives that once held performer lists, animal records, and financial ledgers mysteriously disappeared. Newspaper clippings were pulled from libraries, old photographs went missing from public collections, and even court documents linked to circus deaths were accidentally lost. Some insiders claimed that a secret order of ringmasters, the last remaining leaders, ordered the purge to protect their legacies. Whole trunks of documents were burned in old barns, while others were buried beneath abandoned fairgrounds. A handful of letters still survive in private archives, stained, half-burned pages that mention operations best forgotten and performers never recorded. It's as if history itself decided to look away. The circus didn't just leave town, it erased its own trail. And somewhere, deep in the ashes of those lost archives, the truth still smolders, waiting for someone brave enough to open the box again. The circus was never just a show. It was a mirror reflecting what humanity is capable of when wonder turns into obsession. Beneath the glitter and laughter lived stories written in sweat, fear, and silence. We pulled those ghosts out of the smoke tonight, not to ruin the magic, but to remind the world that behind every spotlight, there's a shadow that demands to be seen. If you felt that chill, that moment where history whispered something real, then stay with us. This channel isn't about easy stories. It's about the truth that refuses to stay buried. So before you go, hit subscribe, leave your thoughts below, and help keep these forgotten voices alive. Thank you for watching, for feeling, and for daring to look past the curtain. The next story's already waiting in the dark, and trust me, it's louder than the applause.